this. Is that better? That's better, yeah? Okay, how about that? This microphone, I'm telling you. So let me just start over again. Let me start fresh. So basically what I was trying to say is this happy Valentine's Day, and we're going to talk about journaling as a self-love practice. As we are on our healing path, on our healing journey, we heal because we bring things into our awareness. We become more aware of how things are going in our lives. But one problem with just having these moments of awareness is sometimes they can kind of flutter away, like the wispy clouds, right? But it's really helpful to have a way to kind of track your awareness and track what's going on for you. So one way I really love to do this is through the practice of journaling. Now, I've been journaling, gosh, I don't know, since I was a kid, probably Dear Diary, and sometimes more so than other times. But overall, it's been a really good practice in my lifetime. And I recognize not everyone's a journaler, but oftentimes when you work with me, I'm going to ask you to track things, track information, and I think it's really helpful. But of course, many people can get kind of lost with all of the options of journaling. So I'm going to kind of break it down a bit today and talk about some ways you can journal, some times to journal, what to write in your journal, how to do it, that kind of thing. So first and foremost, I strongly recommend that you have an actual physical paper journal. I know many people like to do things digitally, as do I, but this is one process that I think really deserves that handwritten process. There's something about it that requires us to kind of slow down, and it also can allow for a massive amount of creativity if you allow it. So when we're just typing on a screen, that's fine, or if you're recording audio, that's fine. At least you're tracking something. But there's that process of having to translate your thoughts into written language that I don't know how to describe it exactly. I'm sure I could do some research about how it helps us understand more clearly, but there's something about me handwriting stuff that makes it more like it sticks better in my brain. I don't know if you have that kind of experience, so I'd be interested to hear what you think about that. So first and foremost, get yourself something to write in that gives you pleasure. So right now, I think I just showed you, I'm using this little gorgeous journal. I love it so much. This is my second journal like this. I've had a bigger journal like this. This one is paper blanks, and this one is the Chloe cover. So paper blanks has classic books that use old, elegant printed book covers, and this one is from a French translation of Daphnis and Chloe from it says that it was it doesn't actually say what year it was from, but it looks pretty old to me. So quite elegant, maybe an Art Deco-y style. There's different kinds. And for me, I'm an unlined journal person. Nothing in it. I prefer that myself because it gives me a little more freedom. Now, I do have lined journals, which I'll show you right now. One of them, this one is called the Better Life Journal, which I'm surprised I used it to the degree that I did. It's lined, and this was a gift, and I actually really liked it. But this was my journal that's specifically more for my business. So when I'm taking trainings that are specifically business related, I use this again for the reason that it helps me remember stuff when I write in it. The other journal is more for my free contemplation. So other journals I've had, like I've even made books on my own. I made this long ago and hand bound it myself. This was super fun because I like drew in it and I put things in it that I thought were pretty and that I thought were interesting. Like, I went and saw J. Rue the Damager back in, I don't even know when that was. December sometime, whatever year that was. I've even watercolored in them, which can be really fun. Does it say when it was from? So that's one. But then I also use my planner as a journal. So this is my most favorite planner in the whole world. This is just for me. You might like something better, but this is the Clever Fox planner. We could have a whole conversation about planners if you like, but I like it because it's got like a vision board section and it has week by week and 3-month goals and all kinds of stuff. But in the back, it has a grid, the square grid journaling. Yeah, the dot journal. Thanks, Ellie. Yeah, I like that too because it does give me a balance. But then I also like pull cards and I write my cards in here. One thing you may also notice about my journals, it's quite colorful. This is important to me. It just helps me engage a little bit more with my journal. There's some written affirmations. So that's one thing. Get yourself something of beauty that makes you happy to touch it and look in it and engage with it. And then get yourself something to write with that feels delicious in your hands. So I have 2 pens that are my favorite. I can only see one at the moment. I like to use fountain pens. It's just me. You don't have to do this, but I like fountain pens because I get to put all of these different colors of ink in. And one of the most favorite parts of my life is when I have to change the ink out. I'm going to show you this upside down so you can see here's one page and then the ink is starting to change. And then this is what the ink's at finally. So that's just like, it just gives me such delight to be engaged in my journal and to watch that happen as the colors change and I put new cartridges in. Others might find that kind of a messy process, but it's it's something that makes me want to connect with this process more. One other thing I wanted to show you is I have a big journal that I've used a lot for, I also was working on practicing my calligraphy. That's upside down, so you can't read it. But there's ways that we can imagine recording information that is beyond simply just writing like a book, you know. I like that we can draw in these things. I like that we can write really big. I like that we can experiment. Here's another trick. If you are using your journal for multiple things, like let's say you're a student and you work and you're trying to use this as a reflection place. Some people don't like to have multiple journals for different things. I do like having a separate business journal, but as I've journaled over the years, it's been helpful for me to learn a technique to track where material is within my journal. So I don't know where I learned this, but this works great for me. So on the side of my journal, I write lines. This is not a great example, but usually one that's I've used a lot is quite filled up. Let me see if I have another one nearby. So you can kind of see on this one how there's some lines right here. See those? I've drawn the up and down lines, and then there's little lines right here. So when I first get a journal, if I'm going to really categorize things, I will take a ruler and I'll draw lines here and then over the edge. And each section is whatever category this is. So for me, this was my psychedelic training. This was a conferences section when I would go to conferences about birth, business, dance, self-reflection, and all kinds of stuff. So when I would go to, like, this is from a conference I went to, you can see that I darkened, this is, or excuse me, not a conference. This was from when I did my psychedelic training. So after I took all those notes, can you see how I drew them black right here? So that lines up with this section here. So when I look at the side of the book, I can be like, okay, where's all my stuff from that particular thing that I was studying? I find this particularly helpful if I'm working on something that I want to track and I'm not smart enough to go back and like plan my journal out so I can have just this chunk that's about notes for conferences and this part is just about whatever. So I find that really, really helpful. Maybe you would find that helpful as well. So what the heck do we write in these journals? They can be so intimidating with these big, beautiful pages, and you have this lovely pen and you're ready to go. Like, and then you open it up and here's this like, what the hell do I put in here now? I don't want to mess it up. First of all, you can't mess up your journal. You're not, I mean, unless you pee on it, just don't do that. Don't let your dog eat it. you're not going to mess up by putting things in it. So I think it's helpful to give yourself a little structure of what to write about in order to help you get into the practice of writing about it. So I have a number of things I like to hit on in my journal. It ebbs and flows over time, but some of the things that I like to talk about, and in the order that I like to talk about it, is I like to talk about my dreams just because they're weird, and I like to plant them in there because sometimes they leave such an impression and I really am curious about them. Some topics I might want to concentrate on would be business ideas, subjects of contemplation, like let's say I watched a film that was really intriguing about the nature of reality or the way plants grow or something. So like kind of contemplation, any type of studying I'm doing, perhaps like if I'm reading a specific book that I think would be really helpful to serve you or serve my clients, I like to take notes about that. I like to track my own health and wellness. I like to track my relationships and friendships. I like to track more biographical stuff sometimes around what food I'm eating, movement, my garden. I like to journal about that. I like to record perhaps what books, podcasts, films I've seen. I like to, there's a lot of pieces like that. Planning. I also like to do some planning about what's coming up, maybe a to-do list or that kind of thing. And yet there's so much more we can do with journaling than just that kind of thing. Now, part of the reason I have beautiful journals is because I don't think it's any secret that I have some little like magical witchy poo leanings. And part of the act of writing requires spelling. And when we're spelling, we're creating a spell, right? Like writing and manifesting things through writing is actually creating something. So it's really exciting for me to think of this as kind of my spell book or my grimoire or something like that, to make it this kind of a special place. And how I use that is, as I mentioned, I draw cards either weekly or on the new moon. And I'll write about the cards and the reflection and the meaning that they have to me. I will also sometimes dive more deeply into specific practices. Right now, I'm in the middle of a gratitude practice that was assigned to me by one of my coaches, where I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for every day, in addition to why I'm grateful for them. I am telling you, I think every single day I say how grateful I am for coffee and all the different reasons why. And I don't think that's the intention of the practice exactly, but it is really fun to kind of put that like, okay, I'm going to do this for like a month and see what happens. Another journal prompt that one of my clients mentioned, which I think is fantastic, is writing down 3 nourishing things and 3 things that are depleting to you. So like just checking that out over a period of time to kind of see what it is that happened to you that day that made you feel great, or what things happened that made you feel crappy. It's helpful to think about that as like data gathering, right? You're getting more and more information. Other things you can write in your journal, there's all kinds of different prosperity consciousness practices. I've spent some time doing that, which has been really helpful at adjusting my limiting beliefs. Other things I've written in my journal is practicing, like if I'm going to write a mantra or an affirmation, that's oftentimes when I'll bring in this calligraphy approach. That's for me, and you might like it or you might not like it, but gosh, there's one other journal I have where I wrote this crazy thing on the inside. Is it this one? Like, I went to this thing, and when I look back at it, sometimes I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? I like developed this entire, I was in a conference and it just kind of like blossomed on the page, this big, beautiful butterfly. And it just makes me really happy. Also, you can put your to-do lists in here. So this is a big page of to-do lists with check boxes, if that works for you. I'm a little bit more digital with to-do lists, but so just give you a whole bunch of things you can journal about. don't get overwhelmed. What I did was when I first came up with this technique is I wrote down all the things I wanted to talk about, and then I made a template. So at the time, my template was to discuss in this order the dreams from the previous night and see how it relates to my self, my spirit life, my magical side, my journey in life, relationships with my husband, and insights that I may have. I like to write about my friends and family. Then I like to write about studying that I'm doing. I like to do my own self-coaching and mindset work. And then planning my day. That's the kind of basic outline that shifts a little bit from here and there. So let's talk about technique. So how the heck do you do all this stuff? And when, right? So when should you journal? First of all, I want you to do this enough that it feels like you can do it. So if it's more achievable for you to write once a week for a longer period of time, or if it's helpful, if you're someone that likes to write in the morning and at night, find your flow of a way that can kind of keep you checking back in, keep you checking back in, keep you checking back in with what's in your awareness. I do find the more frequently that you write in your journal, the more helpful it is to keep things in your awareness. I like to write first thing in the morning. I try to do it right when I wake up. After I've done a little meditation on those good days, unless the dog wants to run outside, before I pick up my phone. Like before I do anything, I want to just get to it and start writing. I also will set a timer for myself when I'm a little bit out of practice. Oftentimes just a 10-minute write where my intention is not to remove my pen from the paper for 10 minutes because it seems so hard sometimes. And then I'm like, squirrel, what? I get totally distracted. So if I just give myself a solid period of time to write, that helps. Oftentimes I'll get to the end of the things I want to write about and I run out of time before I run out of things to write about. Some people really like to write at night, and that might be a great practice for you. Even if it's quickly jotting things down, that might be your preferred method, is just kind of give you an overview of the day and what's coming through for you. For me, like I said, I like to do the morning time. Sometimes I'll jot a few things down at night, but usually I'll spend more time once a week to do a little bit more planning of the week, reflecting over the week. And it's really intertwined with how I run my business. So it's helpful for me to keep all these pieces engaged. And then monthly, I review the month. I really look at what wins were and how things shifted in relationship to my goals, and then make plans for the next month. Every quarter, I do the same thing. Review the 3 months, look for the next 3 months. And I also do an annual review. So that leads me to the next piece is, what the hell's the point of doing this? Well, for one thing, I think it's helpful to review where you've been and what you've written about, and not obsessively get narcissistic about yourself, but I think it's helpful to look back sometimes at your younger self and be like, what was I struggling with? What was going on there? Every year I write down a list of what my year had been like previously. So it's a helpful way for me to track what happened over the year. But also, I really like this quote by Oscar Wilde, who says, "I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train." So I think it's super fun to be like, I have something fascinating here to read about. So that's kind of the basics around some journaling. Let's talk about why this is self-love, though. This is self-love because so many of us are living in a time where we're very much in service or helping other people, or even we're at a place where we're stuck in our head. This process kind of gets some of that out of your head, allows you to have this sacred space of reflection and contemplation, and also kind of evidence of where you've been and where you're traveling on your journey. So I hope you find it useful. I'd love your feedback or your ideas. I'd love to hear what writing prompts are working for you, or if you have other writing prompts that you think should be added here. what else do I want to tell you? I think that's it for today. So let me just give you a few announcements before we head out. As you know, I do Mondays with Meaning every Monday. And this is really created by talking with you all and hearing what's up for you and where we might like to dive deeper, what's helpful to know more about. So please send me a message, post on any of these videos, let me know what you're thinking. If you're watching on Facebook and this is helpful for you and there's anyone you think might benefit from it, please invite them to the Unveiled Vitality Facebook group. If Facebook's not their thing, invite them over to our Mighty Network. It's also going to be on there. And if you happen to watch on YouTube, please subscribe. The more you can subscribe, the more it will help me kind of get connected to you and understand what's the best in service for you. And finally, we're going to do Disrupt the Disruptor again in mid-March, a month from now. So I'm really excited to be teaching this again. It's been really helpful for people that have been engaged with it and learning more and more as I teach it. So I'm hopeful that you can join us. I'm hopeful you can invite people, and I'll share that information in different places so you can get connected. All right, my friends, have a beautiful week. I think we're good today. I don't think I need to pull a card because I think you got plenty of writing to do. All right. Much love, my friends. Talk to you later.